This is Jasmine Owen Green on the 21st of February 2020, recording for Lights Up at Derby Theatre. Please can you introduce yourself and tell me where you were born and what you do?
Okay, I was born in Sheffield, quite a long time ago it seems now. I live in Nottingham and I'm a playwright amongst other things.
Lovely. Born in Sheffield, how would you describe your connection to the East Midlands?
Oh, well, I moved to Nottingham 16 years ago and I had my daughter here. So she's grown up and she's a real, true East Midlandser. So yeah, being here seems a long time now.
So being a mother yourself, who did you live with growing up?
My mum, my dad, and my 4 sisters and 2 brothers. So I come from a big British Pakistani family.
What did your parents do for work when you were growing up?
My father worked in the steel industry. So in those days, there was the steel, and he, in the 80s he was made redundant, as many were, but that's what my father did, and my mum brought up 7 kids. Yeah, so they both worked really hard.
Thank you. So talking about being young, do you actually remember your first memory of theatre? Probably
the worst show that I've probably ever seen, actually. And it was a school panto, and we went with school, and I felt a little bit, I was kind of one of the only Asian kids. I felt really out of place there, and then it was this kind of rubbish it was a Christmas show, and I think I'm not going to name where it was because that might be a little bit, I mean it's a long time ago, but I won't. But it was a Christmas show, and it was supposed to be like a panto, but it wasn't very good. But what was really interesting is that we all sort of like bonded because we all didn't like it, so we were all slagging it off, so to speak. So that was a bonding process. The fact that it was so rubbish, in a weird kind of way. I felt like I belonged as a critic with these young other sort of school friends, students.
Lovely. So apart from Christmas pantos, what would you say was, pushed you to want to work in theatre?
Ah, right. That was my drama lessons at school. And what we did was we had improv, and me and some of my friends, at that time it was a group of Pakistani girls, we would just really love it, and we would sort of, I think, really go for it because it was somewhere we could say something in a safe way. So that's what we started doing. We do a lot of comedy, and I felt incredibly empowered doing that, and I wanted to do more of that. So that's what sparked me, and I'm a big advocate for drama and theatre and arts in schools, because my parents wouldn't have known to send me to youth theatres or dance, or they came from Pakistan, so they didn't have that sort of connections or awareness that was going on, or interest even. So schools in the arts open that up to kids who don't have that access first, especially working class children like I was. So I'm saddened that that's been reduced in schools, because I know that I wouldn't have known, and I wouldn't have been empowered, and I wouldn't feel I have a voice if that hadn't happened in school. So that was great, yeah. That started me, and I've never kind of shut up since, really. I joined the plays that schools did, and from there I knew other older students who joined the youth theatre, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I kind of fought and battled with my family, because it was a bit alien, and especially for a girl, that I wanted to join the youth theatre, and I really pushed. But that was because of lessons in school and the drama work that was going on in schools, as some of the other pupils and friends and people were doing. I just wanted to kind of follow and do, and so then I became aware that these things existed, and I joined the Crucible Youth Theatre. It was, and that was for me quite life-changing because it was so a world that I was probably the first Asian girl there. I was the first. I know that, not probably. I was, and that was kind of so pivotal for me in changing what could have been a different road for me.
So, from those early lessons, how would you describe your personal journey into the industry?
Oh, it's not been smooth. You know, it's been. There's a struggle there, but it's the struggle that I feel. Getting into it was a struggle. Now it's sustaining it. So yeah, it's how long have you got? Really? But in a nutshell, yeah, I have a lot of, you know, sort of personal sort of struggles to sort out, like where was I living. I did find myself living in a refuge at 16. So after that, I am sort of considered vulnerably housed. So there was a lot that happened around that time that I had to sort of deal with as a young adult. So it wasn't like, oh, I went to youth theatre and then I did this and I did that and here I am. There were priorities, which is housing and money and food and where am I staying and where do I belong. So those things took their time. Yeah. But I was a poet. I was writing poetry, and I was performing, and I was going to Apples and Snakes in London. And I don't know if you've heard of Benjamin Zephaniah, and he knew of me and asked me if I'd join his band. So I toured as a backing poet in a reggae band, which was really quite surreal, but a big, massive learning curve for me. So I was always in the arts and always expressing myself and always writing amidst my own struggles. And the arts was helping me tell stories that I was coming up against. And I've never lost that from those drama lessons at school. Sort of storytelling, so here I am still. So
what kind of poetry were you writing, and was there anybody else who really inspired your work?
Jules, who's a Bradford poet, she was at that time, I mean there's millions now, you know, there's loads of poets performing now, but at that time Jean Binter Breeze, Linton Kwesi Johnson, great performance poets, so they were very inspiring, yeah. And they dealt with political issues and social issues, and I identified with that. So, yeah, they inspired me a lot, yeah. In my sort of mid to late 20s, I got into drama school to study drama education. And in there we started reading a lot of plays. And I read Sarah Kane's Blasted, which absolutely blew my mind. I thought it was a phenomenal play, and that inspired me because I was already writing and I was doing poetry, and I could see how playwriting you could. I wanted to deal with sort of issues a bit more broadly from different perspectives, as play and plays allow you to, because you've got so many different characters, and I felt that play was a real lesson in how to do that. So Sarah Kane, and then obviously that opened the door to lots of plays because I was so interested then. So Debbie Tucker Green, Carol Churchill, Alice Birch. I mean, I can't choose because I just love a lot of plays. But at that specific time, and in terms of a turning point, I remember reading Sarah Kane's Blasted and Mark Ravenhill's Shopping and Effing. I won't swear, but that's what it's called. And I thought, well, right, these are great plays talking about contemporary stuff.
Do you notice any similarities with your poetry and with your playwriting? Would you say it's in terms of politics or with your expression as a person?
Yeah, I do, because Blood, one of my plays, was very direct address. So that's like performance poetry, you know, and also in Crompton Nights, although I haven't, the cast of written stuff, it lends itself to poetry and direct address. So yeah, there is similarity. You know, when, if you think about it, Shakespeare and his work and the poetry in that and monologues and soliloquy, it's quite poetic. So, you know, it's a sort of fine line, I think.
So, talking about your writing, could you identify a specific style? Or have you got lots of different styles that you like to write with?
I like to challenge myself. Because I've done sort of direct address in Blood in particular, I really want to write at the minute sort of, what you call it, a real time, real space, real time, one space play, like a pot boiler play. So I'm striving to do that. So I don't like to be restricted in terms of style. I like to, and it's also what is the content of the, you know, what you're writing and how that affects the form. So I remain very open, you know, to styles, really.
I suppose it changes when you change as a person.
Yeah, it does, and it changes in terms of subject matter. You know, what would work for this particular subject matter in terms of its style. You know, in Blood, for instance, I really wanted those two young people to tell and let the audience know what was going on for them. So that was important, and it was an unheard story. So they were kind of duologuing. It was a two-hander, and also doing direct address. So that worked for that play. But at the minute, I want to get a whole sort of community, and I'm just wondering if I condense it into real time and one space, that might help to just bring a very big subject down to its intimate details. I'm still working it through, but it depends what the subject matter is for me, how it affects the style.
When you are writing, how would you start your process? Is there anything that you do or you have done with previous plays or poems, or do you sit by yourself? Or?
Oh God, it's really interesting, because I was thinking about this last night. Because what I've done is I just tend to open the laptop and start writing dialogue or a poem, and then I start editing as I go along. And I'm just thinking that actually, and I have done this a couple of times, maybe writing an outline and a well thought through outline before I start, because I do redraft a lot. So my approach is evolving as I get a little bit more confident, rather than just throw it out on the page in sort of like, I've got to get this out. Maybe a bit more considered in terms of doing a bit more of an outline this time round. So it's changing, and it's funny you should ask that, because I was thinking about that last night, actually.
So is there anything you find you really, really struggle with in the process? Is it going back and editing everything, or do you think it's the initial outline?
No, what I struggle with is time as a mum. And also I have to sometimes do other jobs and work, and I struggle with that because, again, there's no, you know, I think it's very difficult for working class artists if you don't have a lot of money to sustain a career in the arts. It can be done, but it's tough. So that's what I struggle with. The writing itself, if only I could have a space of a week and I just sit down and just get on with it. But I don't have that privilege and luxury. I'm a parent. I also have to have a day job. I work part-time. So yeah, it's a struggle. Yeah. But I'm not moaning, you know. I'm just saying that's what is the issue for me.
Do you think that drives you more to want to write these plays?
Yes, absolutely. It does. I just got to write this down, yeah. And not to be defeated. It really makes me feel I'm there and I've earned the platform, and I really want to utilise that. And I'm not going to be shut away or defeated by this, even though I still have to make sure as a family we're all right, bills are paid, my daughter's okay. I'm going to try. Let's see how it all plays out. I'm still evolving.
So, in your career, would you say that there's anybody who kind of gave you your big break, or was there anybody that really championed you?
Right. The people who gave me my break was Christine Landon Smith and Sue the Butcher from Tomash Theatre, because when I decided I was going to write a play, I found myself joining the Tomash Developing Artists in London, and they're a theatre company, a brilliant theatre, great theatre company I've done a lot of work with in London, and I joined them, and they liked what I was doing, and then they commissioned it, and then they put it on. So they're the ones who did it first. And from then other people took notice, really, and I was able to sort of springboard from there. So I'm really grateful to Tomash Theatre for that, yeah.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
I love the craft of it and the writing of it, and seeing a play evolve, seeing your characters come to life, and that you've created them, but that you believe in them. I do like that. I do get a buzz from that when it works. As I go on, I'm getting more comfortable. Sometimes I sit there and this isn't working. Oh my God, what a waste of time. Blah blah blah. But I know now to give something time a bit. To give things a bit of time and a bit of work and a bit of effort, and then sometimes you can be really surprised as to what is on the page, and that's a really nice feeling. What I also love is other people's plays and work. I just sit there and I'm like, wow, it's amazing. Oh my God, that's just moved me. Oh God, so I love the world of it, and I feel really grateful to be part of it.
Is there anything that you don't enjoy about your job?
Yeah, I sometimes don't like some of the sort of armchair critics that aren't well thought through, and some of the media-y stuff. I just think sometimes that can come from such a narrow perspective. Sometimes things can come from an ignorant, it sounds really strong, but an ignorant place when it's viewing your work and you're talking about a different culture. And you're just like, you've just, you could be a bit more thought through on that in these days, please. So that stuff can be it's an ongoing battle, and it's so frustrating. I'm getting better at ignoring it and not letting it affect me so much. But that's an aspect, because you are putting stuff and you are exposing yourself a little bit, your voice and your ideas. So that's part of it. But when I first started, I was a bit sort of like, stunned at how ill thought through some of that could be, and insensitive. It's the nature of the beast, I think. We could go on about the media and armchair critics and trolls and all kinds, couldn't we? I think that's coming to light a bit more, given recent events. But yeah, and I think women are particularly vulnerable. We get attacked. Attack's a strong word, but we get trolled. I'm off Twitter. I find it too time consuming for a start, but I don't think it's got its benefits. I think it's done some good things in terms of championing justice for, you know, when there was the one girl who got raped in Ireland, and everyone got on Twitter and was backing her, and it was that Sue Me Paddy hashtag, and you know, so it's I'm not dissing it because it has its uses, and Black Twitter in particular, you know, can get some balance back. So bearing that in mind, where people don't have a voice, they feel they can. There's that, but there's also, I think, women get an unfair sort of like onslaught of criticism, and it's too much sometimes. And I'm not saying I'm not that important. I'm not saying I've got to stay away. But even on my little scale, what I've got, I've not sort of been easy to deal with.
Well, I think you're very important, and I think that your voice is really strong. How would you use that voice to talk to those critics and to those media? What would you like to say to them, or what would you want them to learn?
I wouldn't bother with them. If they're people that are ignorant, if there's constructive criticism, and there's a lot of that, you know, we need, you know, criticism can be good and important, especially, you know, but so that's good stuff. But if it's the stuff that's kind of ill thought through, then I won't, and it's just loud, I won't bother. I think what I would do is carry on. Just carry on doing it, and just keep faith, and keep staying strong, and find, you know, and in light of recent events, find people who will support you. You know, I really look for solidarity, and when I find those people, I stick with them. You know, because I can't deal with things on my own. I'm no hero, you know. So I have my little tribe. It's very small, but you know, and I will reach out, and I will try and talk, and when things are difficult, and that's important, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So for your audiences and for the people that really do listen, what would you want them to take away from your writing and from your characters?
To sort of realise there's so many different stories in the world, to identify with somebody who's different to you, and realise we have universal sort of characteristics, and more in common than not. I think overall that's probably why I do what I do, to show that we're more similar than different, even in our differences. And my culture or someone else's culture is very different. But actually, when I watch Hamlet, for instance, I can get a lot from that, and that's some 18th century Dane. So why can't, you know, from 21st century neighbour who's of a different race or culture or gender, what can we resonate with? Perhaps, yeah. If my writing's strong enough, they will.
There's been a lot of changes in the industry for women, or lack of changes. What have you noticed as a woman in the industry?
I think the Me Too movement exposed some really sort of bad behaviour that takes place in our industry, and just the awareness, the fact that that's come to light. There's been a shift, and I've sensed a shift. People thought they couldn't speak or they couldn't say, and things were hushed up, and that was normal. Like you were trouble if you had a horrible story like that. The fact that that's shifted, that's heard, is significant, and I've noticed that there's difference, and I think there's been certain sort of regulations I've noticed going on in various theatres about behaviour. So that's really good, and especially for women, and necessary. I think, you know, it's a start. It's a start. we're still early days really, so we've just got to keep at it, I would say, and centering us, projects like this are great. I mean, I just thought I was going to have a picture taken. I mean, this is a full-on interview, and it's and the other artists you've got, it's great. This is it. We're all keeping at it. We're not going to let this sort of suddenly. We've had a big flash of stories, and it's gone quiet again. Everyone's just let's keep at it. Let's keep the change going. So I think that's really significant. But we've got to keep at it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So being, from an Asian culture, would you say that's, you've had a different journey, or have you found it harder to emerge in the industry as a woman and as of Asian culture?
I think I've become adept at navigating my predicament, because I expect the racism and chauvinism and also the community wanting to silence me. It comes from all directions from me. So at my age now, it's kind of like I'm used to it. So I'm adept to, I kind of sort of am adept to now, I think, dealing with it. Sometimes it doesn't, people trying to silence me or change something in what I'm trying to say or whatever can be frustrating, but as the more I stick in it, the more I get better at it. So yeah, it is a particular journey, coming from a person of colour, being working class. Class is a massive issue for me in theatre, and being a woman. But it's not something that I don't know how to handle now. I'm getting better at handling it. Because it gets boring. It's the same old rubbish. So after a while, you're like, oh, this again. Oh, we're dealing with this again. Oh, again. Oh, And I'm not saying it. Yeah, I'm just tired of it. But I see it coming, so I can deal with it.
Being a woman, being a woman of colour, being a woman of working class, what are the advantages of your role?
I think, for me, no, I won't say there's any advantages. I'd say you as a playwright, generally, need to work hard at writing good plays, good strong plays, wherever you come from. What is the disadvantages? I think women get critiqued and scrutinised more, and certain male voices are allowed to get away with things a bit more, or praised more. You see that a lot. So I would kind of, I just think how I've written in the audience itself, that's what matters. So I was held on to that. So I don't let any of that rubbish, gender imbalance, race, class, deter me. I think there's a battle to get really good working class voices and characters on stage that are complex and nuanced. I think that's a big battle, but I'm getting better at that as well. I'm in that battle, I think.
Imagine you have a magic wand and that you could change one thing in the industry. What would you change?
I would change the fact that I think we should be better paid. And I think I would like more funding in the arts. If I had a magic wand, I would like some of the funding cuts that happened, I think, around 2011, I would want that reversed. Because I think we were on a good trajectory of supporting new writing, and then suddenly austerity measures come in. So my magic wand would be, let's reverse that and let's see where we are today,
What is your greatest achievement, would you say, or a play that you're most proud of?
I don't know. I sort of like, I like each one for different things. I was very proud of Blood because that said what I needed to say and it seemed to resonate and do really well. But I love Crompton Nights at the moment. I mean, I've adapted Alex Wheater's book, but I'm proud of being part of that brilliant team and cast and what I did and what everybody else has brought and how we've worked as a team. That makes me incredibly proud, and the show. I loved what I did with BBC Three, Etching. We did a little short film and that was great working with them. So I like all, I wouldn't do it. It's too difficult if I didn't love what I was doing each time. I can, you know, be nitpicky and bring gripes, but ultimately, I love the buzz of it once it gets on stage, and even though I'm not part of it, then you know, I love to watch it and see the audience's response. So, all of that. I can't just pick one.
How would you suggest a young person like us get into the industry? Have you got any advice?
You do projects like this. You get involved. Be involved, and then work hard. Really. That's what I did. I was involved and I worked hard, and be willing to learn and listen. And as time goes on, you'll know what's worth holding on to, what's worth discarding, and you've got to really, I think, really want it and love it and be willing to really work hard and be very determined. And if you really, really, really want it, you won't let the negativity stop you.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, God. Chill. Chill out. You know, it'll be all right. Just. I know now. What I know now is to just really like. And I think you don't know it. In my experience, I don't think we know it when we're younger. But it is this just getting on with it. You know, when you're younger, so distracted with lots of different things. I think perhaps that's the phase. But what I know now is if I just sat my backside down on a chair and just row, I'd probably have a bit more longer career that started younger. But you know, advice to my younger self: have some fun, have faith. I don't have none of that, but yeah.